Hi, I'm Ben Christensen. We're here at SAP TechEd, and I'm the innovation manager at SAP Next-Gen, one of them at New York. I'm here with Igor Jablokov. Let me introduce you. He is the guy who's actually the founder of a company that Amazon acquired to create Amazon Alexa, Amazon Echo. He's a pioneer in speech-mediated computing, and we have a chance to talk to him about that a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, that was, for everything that people consider as an overnight success, it's probably built on 5, 10, or 20 years of grueling work behind it.
Yeah, I believe that. So speech-mediated computing, how did you get into this?
I don't know, I was always thrilled about that. My parents are both artists, and so having a more natural way of interfacing with computers for whatever reason was always intuitive to me. And so I always was a thrill, yep.
Oh, we have a friend here. Speaking of a speech-mediated computer.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's been a good experience so far. There's an artificial intelligence aspect here. I know that's another topic that you are actually working on currently and kind of been a part of a lot of different projects. Can you talk a little about non-artificial intelligence and how that might apply in this situation?
Right, so I mean there's a lot of sensitivity around the topic of artificial intelligence in terms of what it means for us as communities, what it means for us as enterprises, what it means for us in our daily lives, in our homes and what have you. I think right now we're still in the early days of these forms of interactions. But you know, there's no worry that these entities are going to be replacing us anytime soon.
Well, that's good, because I certainly don't want to get replaced. But drawing more about this, how do you consistently, because you're part of so many things, how do you consistently find ways to innovate and to draw on these new technologies? You're developing things that millions of people are getting experiences on, having them in their homes, and that's just the things of the past, right? Talk a little bit about how do you continually develop these things?
That's where I have to give a lot of credit to Apple, a lot of credit to Amazon and these types of companies, because everybody assumes that they're creating these technologies for us as 30, 40-year-olds, you know, business professionals and everything else to consume. What they're missing is the fact that children are growing up with these things. The fact that, you know, one of the surprising things from a former Apple executive said that they knew that they made something explosive in terms of the first iPhone when they saw a 2-year-old just starting to switch between different screens, you know, with different gestures and touch gestures and everything else. When I saw you know, senior citizens interacting with Echoes, when I see, you know, children creating a relationship with Siri, with Alexa and everything else, it leads me to believe that these are going to be more organic fixtures in daily life for them 5, 10, 20 years into the future. That's why they're important.
Wow. So daily fixtures in the everyday lives of individuals. What about for enterprises? Do you think that these people growing up, I mean, we're growing up now with these technologies, are we going to get to use these in the enterprise? And if so, how is that going to affect it?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. Yes, you will have these types of devices throughout these enterprises, and here's why. There's going to be that expectation. It's a consumerization of information technology, right? As these children end up joining the workforce, they're going to have higher expectations of these workplaces than even you or I have today. And so they're going to naturally assume that they can look at everything around themselves and interact with it and have a conversation with it. They'll want to talk to a box. They'll want to talk to a box of pencils. They'll want to talk to a stapler. They'll want to talk to a piece of paper, a plant, everything, the entire environment around them in order to perform their work and function, because that's how they're growing up in terms of expectation.
Order my pizza, or lamppost, you know, book me a room, and things like that, right?
Right.
So that's the future. It'd be interesting to hear something that you've been surprised about, or a specific experience or story in our last question here that you might want to share, maybe even advice that you would give.
Sure, I think one of the things you have to understand, right, in the last century, in the last couple decades, we basically said unless a brand had a web presence, it was doomed eventually.
Right.
Then we started thinking that that was the case for the mobile world. Unless you had a mobile presence, you are going to be doomed. Now, unless you have a presence on AI assistance, your business also will be similarly challenged. And then there's another important point, because a lot of times we think that these solutions are for ourselves, and yet we don't realize that they're allowing new community members into the workplace, such as those with various forms of handicap that are no longer handicapped anymore. And then the third piece, which is, right now, you have to think that Google and Facebook and the rest of them have already chopped down all the trees in terms of user acquisition that they could ever have. And yet, we have vast quantities of citizens that are maybe slightly illiterate, that haven't grown up in a digital world, that can now talk to things, that can get visual interactions with things, that can now be part of our workforce's innovative environments and things of that sort. So that's what's exciting, is that there's the accessibility of knowledge and education is going to go through the ceiling.
So not just getting more robots, more beings to be part of what we're doing, is actually getting all the humans on the planet,
sure,
because of these technologies, are actually able to contribute and bring their
And let me
ideas
tell
in.
you something, for innovation and invention, that means more genetic diversity. That means opinions and thoughts that we already have in our workplaces. That's what you have to think about.
So the hidden innovations that are going to change the future are getting unlocked because of this trend.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Igor, for your time. This is pushing the global goals as well.